Through the prayers of our Holy Father, through Jesus Christ, our God, have mercy on us and save us. Amen. Good evening, everyone. This is Father Joseph Sweden, working Orthodox Apologetics since 1998 and founder of NFQ True Orthodox and Ecumenical News since 2004. We've been in the apologetic space on Facebook since 2016 and on YouTube since 2018. If you appreciate what we do here, please like and subscribe. Okay. May God bless you. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, John. Today we do our live Q&A session where you can get your questions answered live, as well as member-requested video reviews. So let's get started. And as always, if you want to jump on the stream to ask a question or make a comment, just click the link at the top of the chat. I will be taking super chats from the YouTube chat, or if you want a question and comment without super chatting, one can you can I'll answer it, but you might miss it if I don't put it up. You can also put it up on the cafe. I will be taking some questions from there. Okay, just seeing here people saying, Father bless, God bless you. How am I doing? I'm here. This is, again, it's a live Q&A show. So if you have actual, if you have serious questions, or if you, questions, challenges, you want to question something about Orthodoxy, you want to challenge the Orthodox faith, whatever it happens to be, that's what this show's here for. It's basically, I don't want to say it's a free-for-all, but it kind of is in the sense that we kind of try to go wherever the stream, asks us to. Let me see here. I'm going to get to questions in order. So I'm going to do the ones on the cafe first. So we're going to pull that up, if I may. And let me see here. Okay, give me a second. I'm going to quickly share screen. There was actually one question in the cafe. So if you want to go to afrosinoscafe.com, you can, of course, do that. This question is from Leonidas. Father bless, been meaning to ask this for a while, but I can't watch live. Can we say Serginists are basically the same as Traditors? I remember Bishop Enoch saying something like that in an old stream. Sort of. And I'll see if I can explain a little bit more. Traditors, during the period of the Roman persecution, actually, whether, at times consciously assisted through the burning of the books of the scriptures, and even sometimes assisted the government in the persecution of fellow Orthodox, basically, to save their own skins. On a very basic level, that I'd say that is practically correct, but on an ecclesiological level, I would say it's not. Sergianism is heresy in the sense that you give up the church's freedom to the state, while the Traditors were doing that in practice. They weren't doing it for dogmatic reasons. They weren't saying the joys of the pagan Roman government are our joys. They were kind of going on in terms of, as I mentioned, saving their own skin. So let me see here. And so people are saying they're going to join in. If anyone wants to join in the chat, join in the stream, you can just by clicking the link at the top of the chat. Let me see here. And so good evening to Orthodox Traditionalist Publications. And again, if you want your chat to just appear live at the bottom of the screen, if you are a member, or if you send a super chat, you can do that as well. So, let's see here. So we've answered the Traditor question, which I'm glad to do. Also, I was requested to do a video review. While I have done it before, I'm going to see if I can do a quick one in case I can't find it. We have to get to I have to get to cataloging clips out of videos. I will probably spend. I mean, it's the eighth news style. As I've mentioned, we do have the big Florida trip, which I will probably stream from at some point to give an update on progress. And God willing, we'll be meeting some interesting faces. So you may see us again in that sense. But I am going to be trying to spend a good part of the rest of the month trying to get some cataloging together and trying to get to work on the book. Okay, let me just see here. Let's take a look here and see if we've got questions in the chat. We're moving along. Okay. All right, so I have two related questions, and they're on the ROAC. So I'm going to start with that. Russian Orthodox, what are your thoughts on the ROAC Synod? I don't have thoughts on the ROAC Synod. I was, a layperson in ROAC many, many years ago. And I don't, they're good bishops. I don't have much of a thought in that sense. For those asking about how to, there was the question. Hold on one second. There was the question that we had received earlier. And good evening to everyone who's coming in now. I do want to say that. So the question was how to contact the ROAC if necessary. The easiest answer I can give you, it looks like you are writing from Norway. That's for Lazarun Zalanier. As for the question about coming to Norway, and while I don't know Typica in the meantime, Typica can be learned. We have, let's see here, we have Vasily, who is coming on the stream live. So to answer the question of how to contact the ROAC Synod, let's see here. This is their website, which is autopass.site or rpac.site. I would assume since you're not calling from the United States, otherwise you would use roacusa.org. And then you would just hit Contacti, and I guess that would get you in touch with Suzdal. I don't know what they have in, Scandinavia, etc. So I am the wrong person to ask. As I have mentioned on previous streams, I'm not doing, I'm not True Orthodoxy's customer service department. Guys use the internet. Greetings. Let me see who else. Greetings to Father Pacomios, to the St. Michael Kelly. Albert asks, is Father Peter here as a hood gem? Okay. So let's see here. Vasily, how are you doing? Are you there, Vasilia? Okay. He seems to have dropped off or disconnected. Okay. That's fine. Come back when you are ready with your question. Anyone can join on the stream just by going to, again, the link at the top of the chat. And can you link the website? Wasna member comment. As I mentioned, if you are a member, you can get your comment on the screen. You could also call Archbishop Andrei of Rockland, contact Reader Saba to get a contact form. Also, you can use the website roacusa.org. But if you know Reader Saba, it's probably much easier to do that. He deals with a lot of churches outside Russia. Okay, and he says, message Reader Saba on the cafe. Yes, you can do that. Okay, Lazarus, we know what happened, and I'm going to say it again. If you spam the chat, I'm going to mute you here. You should be unbanned within the next few hours. It was a 7-day ban. We're not going to discuss that here. I assume you mentioned you apologized, so let's leave it at that, okay? Let's put Vasily. Vasily, you're back. How are you doing? Vasilia, Basil, Vassal, hello. Okay. First off, just to double check. Okay, he vanished again. All right. Well, if you come back and you get that audio fixed, just remember that that's what it's for. Black Ortho Acolyte asks, did you watch the Ubi versus Ibarra debate? Yes, I did. And I would say the winner of the debate was ecumenism. Let me see here. Anonymous man says, good evening, Father. Good evening. So once again, this is the live Q&A session where you can get your questions answered live as well as member-requested video reviews. So, as always, if you want to just jump on the stream to ask a question or make a comment, click a link at the top of the chat, testing out different formats here. And so if you want to jump on the cafe, you can also do that. And yep, okay. It looks like Presbyterian Maria says, good evening, everyone. Father bless. God bless you in the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Okay. And so, yeah, that's fine. Once again, anyone can jump on the stream. I'm not partial to that. Of course, there's, you got to do what you can in terms of making, okay, that's not how I wanted this to go. There we go. So, but again, that's what we're here for. We do this every Sunday where we ask, where people can ask questions, people can make challenges. As I mentioned, certain things are common sense. So let's just keep it to that. Okay, Vasilia is back. Let's see. Hello, Vasilia. Okay, I hear something. Okay. Right. Vasilia. Vasilia. Okay. Hello? No? Okay. Not sure what's going on with your audio. I don't know if I'm having audio issues. So far, nobody has said anything, but I hope people are not just used to me just moving around. Let me see here. So whenever you get a chance, Vasilia, just I guess you want to adjust your mic settings. Lazarus says, I've been reading a lot of Vladimir Moss, and he's absolutely blown my mind, Father. Where can I find more of his hidden stuff? There's no hidden stuff that I'm aware of. Just go to his academia.edu website, and you will get his essays, etc. there. Let's see here. Orthodox Spiritualist Publication says, restart your computer. Free IT specialist advice. Yes, have you tried turning it off and turning it on again? Indeed. So other than that, let's take a look here. Okay. So anyone can ask a question. If you type it in the chat, of course, I'll try to answer it, even if I don't put it up on the screen. If you'd like to put it up on the screen, you can go to afrosinoscafe.com, join the chat, and it'll appear live on the screen. And again, if you want to send a super chat or you are sending a member chat, feel free to do that as well. I think we can touch on a couple of different subjects that were of interest this week. A lot of people are salty since the review I did of the book, The History of the Resistance, with Subdeacon Victorios of Orthodox Traditionalist Publications. Mostly salty because of the fact that I think they just really didn't want that book to exist, but it does. So my suggestion for people, if you know people are confused about the subject or confused about where to go, I highly recommend the book. It's extremely useful. And again, it's readable to the point where you have sections that are good for engrossed readers, sections that are good for people who want ready references. So other than that, that's what I would say in terms of getting the book. I would highly recommend it. Actually, I'm going to use the book probably in a few moments because, as I mentioned, it has been suggested to us and asked of us to do a review. Oh, no. Well, I think Orthodox Traditionalist Publication has one of in the salty comments you tell. You can just go through my comment sections. Mostly people are They're personally attacking me for doing it. I think you saw one where they were attacking you, but now they're going off. They're trying to, go off on me personally based on outdated and poor information. Patrick Bateman says, restarting his low tier IT advice, said tech experts savagely beat their computers until they work. Yeah. Let me see here. Okay. Like, Lazarus, I'm starting to get nervous and I'm starting to feel like I'm going to have to mute you. Asking whether there's a full version of the Ostrog Bible in English is, that's a troll question. So yeah, don't say more. In any case, because this was something that was bothering quite a few of the viewers last week, and I will use the mute. In any case, if people have questions, comments, challenges, okay, it says, does anyone have $10 on Cash App? No, but that's an interesting question, I guess. So basically, people have been kind of salty. People have been kind of salty about that. Dealt with a little bit of that on Twitter as well. But what are you going to do? This is kind of it's for lack of a better term, it's the price of doing business. If you're going to upset the apple cart and basically, tell people the things they don't want to hear, then unfortunately, that is a that's a problem. But it is one that is okay. All right. I'm gonna. I don't know. Okay, yeah, beating up a machine is not a good idea. I guess let's see. Here we go. Basil asks, "What is your take on Saint Isaac of Nineveh supposedly being in the Nestorian Church?" It's something that I've been wondering about. Saint Isaac of Syria. If you look at the ascetical homilies of Saint Isaac of Syria, there's a pretty good explanation that was done by HTM on that. I don't believe he was a Nestorian or even really part of the Nestorian Church. It was a much more complicated politico-ecclesiastical situation than people realize. Let me see here. Okay. What the heck is... Okay, do it. Swear. Okay, you're muted, dude. That was rude, and frankly, Father Boniface, good evening. Again, let's see here. Elias Mikhaias says, Father Joseph, correct me if I'm wrong, but you are under Bishop Auxentios of Milan. Are they in communion with the GOC Callinicos or no? I am not under Bishop Auxentios of Milan. I wasn't even aware there was a Bishop Auxentios of Milan since like the 6th century. Great greetings, Kenyan Orthodoxy. Great channel, by the way. Father Boniface says, do not beat the machine, talk to it, put it in a timeout room. That's true. Benedicite. Let me see here. So I hope that answers your question, Elias. I'm under Metropolitan John of New York and New Jersey. We were under Metropolitan of Logios of Milan. So we were given autonomy in 2011, and Metropolitan of Logios has since reposed of blessed memory, but I have no idea who Auxentios of Milan is, except a famous heretic that, I have no idea what you're talking about here. Let me see here. Okay, so DDC says, I'm not joining tonight, got work tomorrow. Totally understandable. And then let me see here. Zalota says, your blessings, Father Joseph. Okay, Lazarus, I had to put some guy in timeout because they said something that seemed either vulgar or weird. But I don't know what the deal is, but where the chat is for like actual questions and for comments, challenges, Okay, and so what does do it mean? Okay. Thoughts on John Romanides? I've expressed these pretty often. He was a very popular writer in the 70s and 80s of the New Calendarists. He had a lot of weird views, not the least were the spinal fluid thing, the St. Augustine thing, the weird version of Western history thing. So in any case, that's what I got to say. So, and if I didn't say God bless you to Salotus, I do. Well, becoming the Franks that are blamed for all problems, they're not, but that's the fancy version of what do you call it? Basically, Romanidis' positions. How do we resolve the Agafungal case? Any progress in the GOCK? I have no idea what you're talking about. Thoughts on inherited original guilt? It depends on how we don't have original guilt. We have original sin, and we have the things that come with that. We do have, in some sense, a share in the original sin. Let me see here. Orthodox Traditionalist Publication asks, have you seen the article about the EP and his goal with the papists? Yes, I have. I've seen different versions of it. That was one of the things that struck me as going really, really weird. Okay, and so I noticed that since that has become more and more public about the idea of sharing the common calendar with the Julian Paschalion to a Roman Catholic Church that doesn't really know what a Paschalion is or care anyway, the ecumenists are having some sort of weird victory lap where they're basically suddenly defending ecumenism and papists, and it's just bizarre. I noticed this on Twitter, and it's very, very bizarre. Patrick Bateman says Romanidis is responsible for an entire generation of Orthobros online saying, "Oh, we don't believe that's a Latin thing for things we all actually believe." That's true. Unfortunately, I don't know if all the blame can go to Romanidis, considering that a lot of it was promoted on YouTube by a couple of well-known people that we've talked about. Elias says, I mixed it up. I believe Auxentius granted the Tomos to the Holy Synod of Milan, where Evlogius served. Yes, he did. That was in 1984, and that was to the West European bishops, originally headed by Yao of Portugal. Let me see here. I was thinking about getting my Phronima examined. Which synod should I have done that with? First off, it's obviously a troll question. It's a joke question. What I would honestly recommend is if you're really that flippant about how Orthodoxy works, just I would recommend going to a priest, your closest true Orthodox priest, and having a confession, and maybe start taking things more seriously. Lazarus Saba told me Agafungal is being investigated. I just want an update on the investigation. You should ask him then, not me. Can you put up a link on that article by the EP, please? Let me see if I can find a link. Give me just a moment. Okay, this is rally against. Hold on. Let me see if I can find it, because I'm going to have to go to the Russian site. I'll try my best there, Kenyan Orthodoxy, if I can. Father Antonio says, good evening, everyone. Good evening. John wishes asks for a blessing. Okay, good evening, Father Antonios. O'Connor Result says, do you know that 66% of quote-unquote Orthodox marriages are interfaith? No, I don't. As I understand, there's no true Orthodox body that is allowing interfaith marriages. I have no idea what's happening in world Orthodoxy with that. I do know that at least in some parts of the Greek Archdiocese, there was a bishop who was talking about communing heterodox spouses. So unfortunately, that's true. Vasilius says, good evening, Father Bless. God bless you. In the Father, Holy Spirit. Or you asking Father Antonius. That's great. Okay. Elias, because also, Father, I'm curious if you would criticize the doctrine of the Sacred Heart in the Latin Church on the grounds that it is a historian or some other grounds. Yes. I've criticized it in the past as being an historian, and it still does appear to be. The idea of worshiping body parts is kind of weird. And unfortunately, that is one of the kind of signs that Roman Catholicism has kind of lost any sort of orthodox mindset on these matters. Let me see here. Father Pacomia says he used to blame for a lot of it, just shouting a historian with an axe to grind. Absolutely, he was. And the noose juice, we can't forget that. In Orthodox, he says the devotion to the Sacred Heart is the most super heresy I've ever hated, to be honest. Yep, I would agree with that. Well, I don't know if it's the most super hated heresy. I mean, the Filioque was pretty bad, and papal supremacy over the earth was also pretty horrible. I mean, Arianism was bad. I mean, there have been, like, I get people disliking the Sacred Heart. I'm not a fan of the Sacred Heart. I don't like it at all. But, like, let's not exaggerate. Like, there are way bigger problems in Roman Catholicism than a stupid picture of a flaming heart. Like, that's the tip of the iceberg. If you have a lot of trad cath friends and you're trying to be edgy about it, that's cool, but they're not here, so it doesn't make any difference here. So yeah, I condemn the quote unquote Sacred Heart. It's not a thing. These are all visions from crazed monastics. Let me see here. Huckalani says, Father bless, God bless you, by maintaining and fighting the heresy, the advice of St. John Chrysostom, maintaining communion and fighting the heresy, the advice of St. John Chrysostom. Where can I find more info on this quote given by many World Orthodox on what to stay? Actually, that's part of the video we're going to cover, so stick around, Huckalani, because we're gonna get into that. It's not what they're telling you it is. Sent to your Facebook. Okay, so I'm going to put this up since we need a link, I guess. Okay. Okay, take a look here. Okay, what is this? Here. So let's put this on the screen here. Share this tab instead. Okay. And ahead of the Phanarchan celebration with Catholics is a goal yet to be achieved. So this looks like the latest one, I guess. They've been working on the joint celebration of Easter, and they've been droning this message now for months. But I guess they want to definitely make sure you understand that they're not going to celebrate. Which it's unfortunately they've already done that, and they do that constantly. I'm going to just put this in the chat for people to see it. So it's always a kind of a game that they do this sort of thing. They play this game to make you feel it's to basically demoralize people who are opposed to this sort of heresy. Let me see here. Father, what is the deal with papist saints being sexual mystics? I would say most likely it's related to the fact that they have a skewed understanding of what monasticism is. Ethan Williams says, I saw a conference by GOC Macarios saying Grace was still in the State Church of Greece until 1935 when Chrysostom left. However, I've heard you say Grace left in 1924. Well, I would say that I don't say, first off, I don't talk in terms of Grace left. That is usually a question that's put to me, and I try to answer it as best as I can, but I find that those questions are largely mystical. And this is a perfect example because in 1924, the state church did sign on to the new calendar. However, clearly that was going to cause problems in the church for those who were against this sort of change. But until 1935, there were no bishops to adhere to, and the True Orthodox were mostly protected and served by monks of Mount Athos. And so it wasn't until the three hierarchs repented from their communion with the state church, etc. However, I will say that before that, the state church was already saying that those celebrating according to the patristic calendar had invalid sacraments, invalid marriages, so on and so forth. So yeah, there's not. I don't see any sort of. I don't have any disagreement with people who say it was until 1935. There are people who say it was till 1965 with the lifting of the anathemas. I would say that that's a little late, but I would also say that at that point it becomes exceedingly clear that the Patriarch of Constantinople had completely ceded to the Ecumenist heresy. So I think these are really minor distinctions and quibbles that honestly aren't worth much, considering we are now in 2024. So we're 100 years past that question. Let me see here. So I hope that helps. Father Procomia says, this was asked of me and I couldn't come up with a good answer. During the Ottoman period, the EP was chosen and even had to pay the Sultan, yet no one broke communion with them. Isn't that worse? No, it's not worse. It was a matter of survival. If they didn't do that, if they didn't pay the jizya, they were going to simply die. The rule, because that was the government at the time, was that you had to pay the jizya and you had to pay a tribute to the emperor. There's, technically paying a tribute to the emperor, as bad as it is, in this case, because it was a Muslim emperor, is not actually something that by itself is forbidden. The bigger question, and the one that really is what I think most of these people consider to be a problem, isn't so much the paying of the jizya and the paying for the tribute for the election. It was the fact that at times there were competing parties who were effectively trying to use money to get their candidates into office. And that was considered to be almost simoniac. None of this compares to Sergianism, in my opinion, which was an active betrayal of the church. People throwing money at stuff is not new, and people using it to gain power is not new, but neither of those is by itself Sergianism. I think that when people do that, this is the same thing. A lot of people will say that the Tsar was just as bad as the Sergianists because he used secret police. Secret police, of course, go back as far as the Oprichnina with Ivan the Terrible. So the issue is not secret police, and the issue is not having to pay the Sultan a fee because it's required or you die. The issue with Sergianism is the craven sympathy towards those who hate the church, which is near blasphemous. I try to avoid. I mean, you can, as you can see, you can provide an answer, but I would also point out that people who argue like this know that already, and they're usually arguing in bad faith. And then Vasilius says, grace is not easy to measure during the birth of heresy. That is very true. That Russian Orthodox said, how did you find your synod and why did you leave ROAC? I actually, in the first place, I knew of our synod for a while, and I've gone into circumstances surrounding that in one of my books, Between Madness and Death on academia. If you're that interested in my life. Why did I leave ROAC? I was asked to leave. I don't go into specifics on that. It was not for, at least to my knowledge, it was not for anything scandalous. Okay, we have Lazaroon coming on live. Hello, greetings.
Greetings, Father. I'm very nervous right now, but I asked the question about the Papist saints, and I'm even more confused.
Okay, can you restate the question? Because I have no idea what you're talking about.
I was asking why they view sexuality that way, and I was thinking maybe it's the way they view Mary, maybe it's the way they view women, or.
Well,
I
I
don't
think that
understand.
what it comes down to is, I think that I assume you're talking about the female mystics that married Christ and so on and so forth in their visions. I would assume that it was just it's as I think Father Saint Seraphim Rose put it, grace departed from them, and everything became more humanistic. Their art became more humanistic. Look at the art on the Sistine Chapel. Their entire worldview became one devoid of the divine presence. And so I would say that that's the reason. Um, and in some ways, it hasn't really gone away. If we can talk about the female mystics of Roman Catholicism being sexually inclined towards Christ, but I mean, there's the whole Jesus is my boyfriend movement in Protestantism, and that's today.
I'm
So
also talking about the other male mystic. Yeah, I don't
I have
really
no
want
idea
to.
what you're talking about.
There's another Roman Catholic saint that basically
What's his
he,
name?
I don't remember. He just the
Okay.
only thing I remember is that he drank milk from a statue.
Okay. Yeah. I think we're talking. If we're talking about the person who nursed from the breast of the Theotokos,
Mhm.
which was crazy, I think that might be Bernard of Clairvaux. But again, these were all mystical visions. And a vision, if it doesn't actually come from God, can come from the devil or it comes from one's own imagination. So if you're wondering where it came from, that's the answer.
Oh, I also have another question.
Okay, what's that question?
How do I, since my dad, he's like a the church is invisible kind of Protestant, but he understands Orthodoxy and he recognizes it. But he says that the church is united, and he's kind of like a crypto ecumenist, and I don't know what to do.
What do you mean you don't know what to do?
I don't need to do anything, do I?
Well, no, your purpose in life is to seek your own is seek salvation for yourself. And if you want to, the best way you can help your father in that is to show yourself as a good example of a pious and orthodox Christian. Um, Sometimes, especially parents, often don't listen to their children when it comes to spiritual matters. So the best way to lead is by example.
I mean, he recognizes the saints, Mary. He recognizes the church fathers, but he doesn't really read them. He's busy with his work and all that stuff. But he,
That that's fine, but you mentioned in the chat that you're trying to figure out your own ecclesiastical situation. You
yes,
have to get
exactly.
that. You have to get that resolved before you can even. I would say even have an extended conversation with your parents about that.
Yeah,
One
I
has
just
to be orthodox before they can introduce orthodoxy to someone.
that makes sense. But like Sava, he told me not to go to that Agafango monastery.
I don't. Okay, where you know what I'm going to say, right? Because
Yep.
you're bringing up stuff that again, that's this is a drama that I don't deal with.
No, we
That's
don't need
why
to
I
deal
don't
with
have
that. We don't need to deal with
okay.
that. Just
All
ignore
right.
that.
Did you have any other questions?
Yes, I do have another question.
What's the question?
Um, so the MP, were they responsible for creating the movie? Were they responsible for the story of the movie Andrei Rublev? Because I can't find anything else about Andrei Rublev except the movie. I want to learn about his life, but that's all I find.
My best suggestion to you then would probably be to translate Andrei Rublev into Cyrillic and use Yandex. You're going to find much more extensive information on Andrei Rublev in Russian than you are in English.
Oh! What about the Japanese true Orthodox? What happened to them? That's also a question I have.
I don't have enough information on that, but you're probably going to have to do research on that
Oh,
as well, because unfortunately, the situation in Japan was truly tragic. With the autocephaly given to the OCA, they gave up the Japanese parishes to the Moscow Patriarchate. I've heard that was a very tragic story, but I don't have that information. I would recommend looking up the history of Orthodoxy in Japan. Probably,
I already found some information and made a video about it, but that's the only thing I found because Christostoros, he basically helped me with that.
okay. Well, clearly, he has some. Christopherus has some pretty good research skills. So, I would suggest just keep on searching.
I have one last question though.
Sure.
Since you talked with Yaste and stuff about how Iceland fell, I really want to know how
Wait,
Iceland fell from Orthodoxy. I really want to know your sources for this.
I don't have it. Who did I talk about that Iceland fall?
Yaste.
Okay. If you're talking about something I said on the cafe, I was just using basic history from Wikipedia.
Oh, wait, what?
I was just using basic history from Wikipedia.
Oh.
You can trace the fall of any Western country using the Hildebrandian model when you see where the loyalists of Hildebrand versus those who were trying to be loyal to the original tradition had conflict and ultimately were removed by the Hildebrandians. And if I remember correctly, I think that was like 1102 or something. But that's just basic information you can find on an encyclopedia article.
So I should really be asking Sava this question.
I have no idea how much he knows about Orthodoxy in Iceland. Sorry.
Also, I went on the cafe. I thought you said the Diocese of Hamburg.
Yes, Hamburg Bremen. I think I said because that diocese was continually changed and expanded based on what was happening with the political upheavals at the time. But I don't have an extensive history of that. You would have to look that up yourself.
Oh, okay. But also, what's the deal with Charlemagne in the schism and all that? I've never understood that. What's the deal with Charlemagne?
No.
Can't do that. Okay, no, we're not doing that.
No. I think you know why because obviously the schism did not occur with. No, it's not. Charlemagne was not the reason for the Great Schism. That occurred 200 years after his death. So no, that's just Romanedianism.
Wait, what?
It's just Romanedianism. Romanitas promoted that.
Okay.
Did you have any other questions?
Yeah, I have one last question.
Sure.
What was that question? When were patriarchs invented? That's my question, because
that's not a great question.
I know it's a hard question.
It's not a hard question at all.
What's wrong with it?
The problem is this: the ancient sees that were patriarchates were originally episcopates. They were raised up to patriarchates in the First Council of Nicaea. However, the sees existed before Nicaea. They existed since apostolic times.
So I've been lied to?
I don't know who you're talking about. I don't know who would have lied to you. The simple reality is these are things you could study in basic church history. Even Googling it, you could even Google the word patriarch and it'll pull up Orthodox Church and the general explanation is there.
Huh. Oh, I trust people more than I'm confused.
Books.
All right, that's enough. You can kick me.
I don't have to kick you. Well, thank you for your questions. If you have any other questions that are questions, I'll take them.
Okay. Sorry. Right. I'm wasting a lot of people's time here.
That's okay. You had questions. They were good questions till they weren't.
I know. I'm bad. I
didn't say that. Okay. Just relax. Have a good night. And if you have more questions, you can come back. Okay. Let me see here. Yeah, Bernard of Clairvaux. A statue of the Theotokos. Yeah. I don't buy it. Yeah, the funny is demonic degenerate visions. I'm putting that up even though you didn't pay for it, OTP. That's true. Yeah, no guys, don't say it like that. It's disgusting now. No, it was already disgusting. A Lingual Inquirer says, hello, everyone. God bless. Pray for your dad every day. I believe that was for Lazarun, and that's a good point. You should. I know, yes, but that's literally his vision. Yes, I'm scarred now. I apologize. When he asks questions, answer them. Don't be too pushy. I didn't mean to be pushy. I just sometimes the problem is sometimes questions don't see. If I feel like questions aren't coming from like a real place, I don't get into it. I don't want to answer them. Andrei Rublev movie is good. Yeah, it was a good movie. It's considered a classic. Okay, Vasilie is saying something to the Father Pacomios. Yeah, that's a good point. That they did not commemorate the godless powers. Guys, have you started Kenyan Orthodox? Yes, guys, have you started noticing some secular movies have started using Orthodox churches owned by World Orthodoxy to do stunts and explosions, like how Roman Catholics use theirs in horror movies and stuff? I mean, that's a difficult one because as long as I'm not a big fan of using churches in secular productions, particularly because they're not really that hard to make a set for. But on the other hand, yeah, that's a tough one. In some cases, they're just using courtyards. Let me see here. You had one last question, last three questions. Yeah, that's taken care of. Well, Father Joseph Sweden is working for Big Charlemagne, confirmed. Juan says, genuinely, is this young man right? I don't know. I think he wasn't wrong. He was asking questions. Okay, let me see here. Yeah, he might have just been nervous. Okay, TP, so nervous. Good evening, Father. Just nervous. Okay, this is kind of silly. Most of those were very good questions, so I didn't mind. Joshua Mack, when I visit the cafe, yep. If you had that error, Joshua, refresh your screen. That should have been that was taken care of by late last night. It was going on for about almost 2 days, but we got it taken care of. Jonathan Britt says, didn't think they were bad questions. Keep praying for your dad. Very true. That Russian Orthodox. I am not repeating questions where it implies that someone has mental health problems. Joshua says, the site under attack. No, the certificate was expired. It is fixed. My bishop told me to just quit the meds. I was just nervous. Too much information. Father, that comment was meant for Lazarus regarding his dad, not you. Sorry. LOL, no problem. Again, I am not addressing stuff like bishops giving medical advice. Seraphim says, do you think the World Orthodox has the same attitude as the Holy Saint Papa Nicholas toward the calendar reform, that this would perhaps be a good middle ground between World Orthodoxy and true Orthodoxy? I once again repeat, I believe it was Boethius or some other philosopher's adage, no man can return to the river because it is not the same river and he's not the same man. Papa Nicholas Planas was literally alive during the calendar change and the early stages of the persecutions and knew what trouble he could get into. That is not realistically a World Orthodox today. So I don't see that. Let me see here. And we continue on. Bishop John of Melbourne. What were you? No. Okay. I'm not touching any of those. I'm just legitimate questions, comments, so on. Who did the old calendar priests commemorate between 1934 and 1935? Were they in a similar situation to Father Peter Heers? No. Non-commemorators proper, and there are still non-commemorators that appear from time to time. Usually, if they don't know who the closest local bishop is, they will commemorate all Orthodox bishops in the liturgy until they find a true confessing bishop. So my guess is they were saying for all confessing bishops or for all true bishops. Were they in a similar situation to Father Peter Heers? Absolutely not. To my knowledge, Father Peter does not actually celebrate liturgy at all. He assists at the services of St. Anthony's Monastery. Basically, he's in agreement with the new calendar. He is a full new calendarist. He can't get a blessing from the new calendar bishops to celebrate because he's not under them, and so he's in some sort of ecclesiastical limbo, which I think he's very comfortable with, making YouTube videos and selling books. Let's see here. Okay, let me see here. Father Joseph, would you ever be down to debate an Orthodox Christian Stalinist? Says Lingual Inquirer. The only person I know of who's like that would be Jackson Hinkle, and outside of that, yeah, I mean, I would. Let's see. They don't exist, maybe in name only, but the two aren't compatible. I tend to agree with that. I think that if you meet somebody who claims that and you want them to, invite them to come on the show, and I guarantee you their sudden Orthodox Christian Stalinism will slowly degrade into just regular Stalinism, and they'll be less and less inclined to have that discussion. In Russia and in the infra-ed circles, okay? Let me see here. Material dialectics deconflicts with Orthodox spirituality that can't be reconciled. Yep, okay. They even have icons of Stallenberg. Yep, they do. They're just LARPers, and it's scary for real. Okay. Yeah, okay. Let me see. What do I think about the fall of Syria and Bashar al-Assad? That's a good question. That just happened. For those who aren't aware, the Syrian regime under Bashar al-Assad just fell. It was suspected last night that he had he had been killed. However, more recent reports indicate that he had escaped and he is in Russia with his family. Conflicting reports continue to come in. It seems that very pro-Israel types are alongside very pro-Russia types are saying that all the Christians are going to die. So there have been some videos of early pictures of Christians in certain towns celebrating. I have no idea what's going to happen. All I can say is pray for the Christians of Syria and hope for the best. That's really all I got. Let me see here. Okay. You can't be a Marxist and an Orthodox Christian at the same time. Those who were apart from the Soviet MP were either communists who claimed to be Orthodox or Orthodox who claimed to be communists. Fair enough. Wazna, as a member, gets the chat up on the screen. The TL in Greece were beaten, arrested, and killed during that time, Peter. How can you compare that to Father Peter Hears? I agree. You can't. Some say it's going to be Libya 2.0. Well, God forbid. All I can say is pray. We'll see. Okay, Lazarin, I'm not dealing with the Ostrog Bible. If you've got some private discussion going with Subdeacon Nectarius about translating the Ostrog Bible, that's great. But that's something you should deal with on his channel and reach out to him directly about. It's, let's see here. I've been recovering from a cold, by the way, if you're anyone wondering. Vasilius says, Brother Lazarin, you must always fight. Okay, that's personal. Also, Father, about those Redeemed Zoomer videos I linked on the cafe, could you review them? I have no idea which Redeemed Zoomer videos you're talking about. I will try to take a look. Redeemed Zoomer is an interesting case. As I think I mentioned on the previous stream, he was asking about true Orthodox people and does follow me now on Twitter, but hasn't reached out to us at all. So, I mean, I've invited him on the Sunday stream, so I think it may have just been. It may be that he's just looking for a counter to answering World Orthodox Ortho Bros. And I'm okay with that. If he wants us to be that counter, sure. Okay, that's fine. Let me see. I'm World Orthodox too, but let's be real. The Communist Party of the Russian Federation is the second, and it's 80% Orthodox. Are they all LARPer? No, I would say that they're all, boomer surgeonists, but, if that's the kind of the people you want to follow, that's your choice. Let me see here. The Jesus prayer. Okay. Jonathan Britt says the Jesus prayer is best for anxiety as well as cyclical thoughts by praying a canon to the Tokos. Quick to hear if you need immediate help. That's great advice, but it should really come from a priest. Juan Bankers. Okay. Yep. All right, that's fine. Why are true Orthodox synods not in communion with each other? A lot of them are. If you take my synod, we are in communion with the GOC of Lona under Bishop Metropolitan Cherubim of Bithynia, and the True Orthodox Russian Church under Metropolitan Seraphim. The largest True Orthodox communion, including in this country, is the GOC Kalinikos, with the GOC under Metropolitan Demetrios, which is also in communion with the Russian Church abroad under Metropolitan Agafangel, who also has parishes here under the guidance of, I want to say, Bishop Gregory of Sao Paulo, as well as the Bulgarian True Orthodox. And then there's other smaller communions, for example, the Rokana, which was most of Metropolitan Agafangel's parishes in North America, till they wanted him, questioned for discipline. They are in communion with the True Orthodox of Serbia. And there are other cases as well, in other churches as well. So even though it sounds like I'm giving a big three, there's also smaller communions in other countries. So no, I would say that approximately 75% of all True Orthodox throughout the world are in some sort of communion with other True Orthodox. I would say so. I think that's fair. Seraphim Wester says, recommendation for those who don't live near a GOC parish. I will be stationed in Okinawa soon, and the only Orthodox church there is the New Calendar Greek Archdiocese. Well, if you're stationed somewhere now, it's best to make those connections because people traveling for military or economic reasons is not something new in history. But what you can't do is try to say, like, what's the best way I could do this by myself? It's the one thing you don't want to do. What you want to do is, if you have the ability to reach out to a True Orthodox priest or bishop now, use that. And that way, they'll be able to help guide you as these travels and things happen. You can't, you don't want to do a thing where you're like, how can I plan to be by myself? You don't want to do a thing where it's like, how can I be where the only option is the New Calendarist? Because that's never true. There's always things you can do, but you have to take advantage of the resources you have in hand. So that is what I will say there. Patrick Bateman says Israel is trying to launch the Greater Israel project now. Yeah, I mean, I thought the Ukrainian war was the backup Greater Israel project. So we'll see. We'll see. There's nothing set in stone right now. Okay, Seraphim UDP or 3 years. I'm not sure what that's a reference to. Okay, this is some military thing, I think. OGP says we don't do Bible translations, never will. Okay, this is once again that question of that stuff. Okay, it looks like there's something going on with my cafe, so I'm going to restart it and see if that helps. Okay, no new posts on the cafe. Again, if you want your post to appear on the screen and you don't want to do a super chat, you can always go to frozenuscafe.com and make a comment there. Let me see here. Thanks to Subdeacon Victorious for his great work, which I featured on my channel. Okay. That's great. Okay, let me see. What's the deal with Archbishop Gregory of GOC America? It's a question I get almost every week. Well, he is somebody who all True Orthodox generally don't recognize because of his fanatical nature, his assumption that he's the only true bishop left on earth, and frankly, just it's kind of a non-Orthodox way of looking at life. Okay. Just putting that there. One moment. Okay. So yeah, I mean, the problem is that, again, there is an attraction people have because people like, especially when people start learning about True Orthodoxy, People make the joke about, going to the most genuine church, or the truest church. And even though that's a mockery, there are some people who wonder whether or not that is a good thing. And no, it's not. I think it's unhealthy, and I think it ignores that most synods have had some historical issues. Then there are people who will lie to you and say, no, we've never had any historical issues. And Gregory of Colorado is the end result of that. So my suggestion to you would be to find any true Orthodox bishop outside of Gregory of Colorado, as all of them agree that he's bad news. If a person can be named Seraphim, he can also be named Cherubim. Yeah, and we happen to have two primates in our communion that have those names. Why are there so many Russian jurisdictions? Because Russia is a big place. Can you think of any saints that we share with the world Orthodox that they have written a different life about? When you say a different life about, hello, reader John, I'm assuming that you mean that they wrote like a discordant sort of life. Yeah, I mean, their version of St. John of Shanghai and San Francisco's life is heavily sanitized. Almost all the new martyrs are heavily sanitized to make them sound like they supported the patriarchate. Let me see here. Let's see here. That's okay. I'm gonna just kind of skip over all of the comments about Okinawa. No offense. I'm sure it's great. That's where Danielson learned karate, but that's not where I'm going with this. Let's see. Must be okay. Continue. All right. There's a lot of Japan talk. Yeah. Well, hopefully not. Okay. And let's see here. For $10, we have a super chat, and I haven't even gotten to it yet. I don't know why. Have you seen anyone from the official churches? From Black Ortho Acolyte for $10. Once again, thank you for the support of the channel. Have you seen anyone from the official churches provide an example of when Canon 15 of the First Second Council would apply, since it said it doesn't apply to the TOGOC and being misused? No, actually, that almost never happens. If it has happened, I'm not aware of it, but they're not going to give themselves ammunition to shoot themselves in the foot. And so let's continue on. Let me just go back. Okay, this is all, I'm guessing, military talk. Redeemed Zoomer links keeps getting censored. No, Lazaroon, it's not that they keep getting censored. It is that YouTube procedure in the chats. Only a moderator on the video can actually send out links. YouTube will automatically delete links. Wax on, wax off. Exactly. Comrade Lightswitch writes, Father Joseph, I was saying to point out Sergianism, not defend it. I sent you an email and hope to be able to discuss things further. I don't know if you're the same person I think you might be. It's very possible. If you're the guy, the reader who sent me a video, I am going to review that video because I am too tired and it'll take too much time to look for it in the catalog of videos, and it's a pretty short video. So yes, let me see here. Seraphim, congrats. Yep. See here. I'm skipping your comment, Patrick. What's the Kenyan Orthodoxy? What's the benefit of having icons in your home? Most importantly, in your room. Icons are windows into heaven, and frankly, the more icons you have, the better. As you can see, size is also an issue. If you like a gigantic icon, you can actually get tapestries of icons, and they're very cheap. Like, as in, like, that tapestry behind me was like $8. So the point is, having icons allows us to commune with the saints more directly. Saying your prayers before them in a spiritual way connects us to them, much in the same way I would say even photographs of family connect us in a deeper way. Well, I would say that the deeper way is, through iconography. We have a DM. Okay, DM. Let me see here. And what it can, if you can just put your question in the private chat DM, and then or just introduce yourself, I will put you up on the stage because I don't recognize who you are. Let's see here. Just let me know. Just let's see here. Where are we with these? Seraphim Thanks Orthodox Traditionalists. Yep, it's Metropolitan Philaret. Great book. St. Philaret. Writing an apologetic work on Protestantism versus Orthodoxy. Know any good resources for editing / publishing? You're going to get different answers from people. I personally like Lulu. I know Orthodox Traditionalist Publications. They use Amazon. You wanted to know about the priest, okay? Install and confidentiality. All right, I'll try to put you up. Okay. Good evening, DM. How can I help you?
Hey, I'm actually part of, I guess, World Orthodoxy, but I've been kind of interested in leaning into true Orthodoxy and finding out more information, like from Father Seraphim Rose.
When you say trying to find out more information about true Orthodoxy, what have you learned in terms of like what we are? Because people always get confused and think we're like a different religion.
No. I don't think you guys. No, absolutely not. I think that from what I can see and from what I've seen from like the genuine Orthodox Church, Metropolitan Demetrius, I believe it is.
Okay. Yep.
Like he just seems to be like a no nonsense, like no heresy type of guy. And a lot of the guys in, like, for example, the parish that I've been going to, which is an OCA parish, they're the bishops aren't they're very heretical with the things that they say.
That's a bold statement, and I want you to think about it for just a moment, because I mean, I hate to say this, and I'm not trying to dissuade you, but what I'm saying is that I've heard many World Orthodox people, even in the debates that I've had, say, "Yep, I've seen heretical bishops. I've been under heretical bishops." The canons tell us, and Subdeacon Nectarios actually wrote like an entire book on it. They tell us throughout church history that we're to flee heretical bishops. The reason I'm mentioning this to you is because you just mentioned the bishops are heretical. That is not something to address casually. So I wasn't trying to imply that you were doing that, but I just wanted to understand the words you stated are extremely serious.
Well, one of the things, I guess, and this is, I guess, from the bishop's own mouth, that he said that Origen is a saint. So I think that's pretty heretical.
That's your bishop?
Yeah.
I assume that's Bishop Alexander Golitsyn?
Yes.
Okay, and the synod knows about him, and they're not going to do anything about it because there's noted intellectuals who have the same position, like David Bentley Hart, etc. The simple reality is there's not much you can do. What region are you in? Are you in the Midwest? Are you in the Northeast?
Southeast.
Okay. Do you know of any true Orthodox churches near you?
So the only one that I'm aware of is the one in Clearwater.
Okay. That's the GOC Klinikos Church.
The Mission of the Theotokos, I think it is. That's what the church is called.
Yeah, and we have our Father Boniface, who's been on the show before. He's in Lakeland. So I don't know are you in Florida?
Yeah, down south in Florida, where there's no true Orthodox parishes, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, there's someone who keeps asking from Miami. I don't know
if
you're
me.
Oh, okay. I was hoping it was someone else. It could have been like, there's two people now. But the point is, yeah, I found there's like at least 2 or 3 people in Colorado who are at least somewhat interested, so that's good. But yeah, I mean, just my suggestion to you is, it's not an ideal situation, but it's not a miserable situation either, because I have lived in South Florida before, and I used to drive to Central Florida a lot, and it's annoying. It is annoying especially the highways, especially depending on what time you take, but it's not impossible. with decent planning. And so I would say that that's probably the start you should go with. Get guidance from a true Orthodox priest. I know that there's more true Orthodox people that I'm almost 100% sure, because there were before in South Florida. I just don't have those levels of connections anymore. I don't know who's there anymore, but they're there. It's just you're gonna have to get acquainted with the true Orthodox in your state and in your region just to probably find those.
Yeah, no, definitely. And the question that I have about stolen confidentiality is because I run into a recent issue where the priest of the parish that I was going to has literally kind of exposed a lot of my things that I have spoken to him privately, to my group of friends and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. One of the most, and this is actually a good question, but it's going to be an upsetting answer for a lot of people. One of the most misunderstood issues of privacy in the church is the seal of confession. That is for sins, specifically sins that you have confessed. And so the point is, a lot of people have taken it, and I hate to say this, but the World Orthodoxy has been sort of responsible for this by kind of referring to confession as an analog to therapy. People like Metropolitan Hierotheos Vlachos have pushed ideas like that. And what has happened is unscrupulous priests know a lot more about their parishioners than they need to for a proper confession. While I personally haven't experienced exactly what you've experienced, as a priest, try my best not to do that. I don't guarantee it, because if it's outside of the scope of the mystery of confession, it's technically fair game. As horrible as that sounds, it's a good priest won't do that. Unfortunately, not everyone is a good priest. Nor am I saying I'm a good priest. I just won't do that out of horrible personal experience. But yeah, my personal suggestion is, when you're doing confessions, using a list helps, and getting rid of the list. I don't suggest sharing too much information unless you truly have trust in this priest. Clearly, from what you're describing, you had some level of trust that clearly was not reciprocated, and I am sorry to hear that. But as to what you can do about it, not really that much, unfortunately. You could write his bishop, but my guess is, I've heard stories like this before, and they won't do anything.
No, yeah, and that's kind of like I went, and I explained a lot of like personal things, struggles that I've gone through, and kind of I feel like I've been stabbed in the back.
I completely understand, and I'm sorry to hear that that was your experience. Um, while I would ask that you remain vigilant, I like to think that to some degree, true Orthodox priests, at least for the most part, are a little better about it. But I'd be lying to you if I said that that phenomenon was completely unchecked, like it didn't exist among us, because there is a distinction between the sins we confess in confession and the things we talk about our lives, which are extraneous and unfortunately can be weaponized against a person. Um, it's that's why I said I wasn't going to have a good answer, because unfortunately, while we're supposed to live above the requirements of Christian charity in terms of confessions, we should try to be understanding. Not everyone's going to do that, but I do feel terrible for what's happened to you, and I can only say that it probably won't happen again, and I assume this is happening because you asked too many questions. I don't know what the reason was for that, but
yeah, well, we had an incident earlier in the year, and I feel that incident is like something that kind of left a sour taste in his mouth, kind of thing.
yeah. Well, one thing that I would suggest highly is to learn more about true Orthodoxy and the history of resistance. If you can get the book, I highly recommend it. What I don't suggest is going to Orthodoxy for emotional reasons,
Right.
because oftentimes that can be disappointing. You do it for the love of truth. So, but all I can say in that case with that priest is just be careful. Priests are human, and unfortunately, we're flawed humans. So keep the confessions to confessions, and unless unless you really trust your priest as a friend, and I don't always recommend that, then I would say, just you have to be careful, unfortunately.
No, yeah, and I think in this day and age, I think there's a lot of warnings out there, about,
Yeah.
kind of rogue priests in a sense.
And I hate to hear it, but it's not new. And I do apologize. I hate to be the one to have to say it because, I hate to say it, but a lot of the online orthodoxy discussion makes every priest sound like, he's been ordained a saint. And that's not the truth. And when people learn that, unfortunately, usually there are psychological scars to go with it. And I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, no, definitely, and as you were saying about the true Orthodox, one of the things that I've been kind of coming into is because a lot of it I see is rooted in truth, right? And a lot of things, for example, like the obfuscation of like Father Seraphim Rose talking about the old calendar is and things like that. I just I've been seeing these things, and again, little by little, it's just kind of like, wow, it's like I can't believe it, like. This whole thing, like I came into Orthodoxy, 5 years ago, coming in for the truth. And that
Yeah.
there's like another layer to this is kind of like.
Yeah, that's the horrible cognitive dissonance a lot of people are dealing with now, is that, they were sold that. They were sold the one true faith. They were sold this is the end of the line. And then it turns out that the people selling it were scam artists. Yeah, I get it. And I feel bad for people. Again, I highly recommend this book, The History of Resistance, because one thing that I will say is that the church asks of us for a spiritual and an educated obedience, not a blind obedience. And unfortunately, what these people are pushing is blind obedience, and that's just really a shame.
And that's kind of how I felt. I've had other people, like in the parish, for example, like say things like, you should only get information from your priest. You should only, these things kind of just, they didn't sit well with me. Just
Well,
something
they don't make sense. Yeah, that they didn't sit well with you because they seemed illogical. Obviously, the priest probably did reach out and talk to you about Orthodoxy first. You found out about Orthodoxy through some sort of source, whether online, a friend, etc. So
Yeah.
it makes no sense to give up that part of your mind, and it's not necessary. The church never viewed it that way. It's like I've heard the horror stories of people not being able to read the rudder. That they weren't allowed to look at the canons, that, that's something that lay people don't look at. It literally says it in the blessing of the Patriarchate of Constantinople from like 200 years ago. In the introduction, it says this is being printed so lay people can read and learn the laws of the church.
Wow.
Like, that's crazy.
I haven't, I'm going to be honest, I haven't really gotten the chance to read a lot of the canons. But I have read some things that have been kind of like that have opened my eyes. One of the things was, I think it was in one of the ecumenical councils, says that a person that's Orthodox cannot marry a non-Orthodox.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
Yeah. And I wish I knew that prior to all this stuff going on, because it makes a lot more sense now. Because apparently in like the OCA, they allow marriages between Protestants and different Protestant groups, Catholics, etc.
Mm-hmm. And the Greek Archdiocese now is communing those heterodox spouses. So crazy stuff. It's not Orthodox, but it's crazy, wacky stuff. Unfortunately.
So let me ask: do you think that, do you ever foresee maybe that one day there could be a reunion, like maybe, like, I don't know, God does something and basically removes all these heretical bishops, and And there could be like a reunion.
I'm not a fan of this question.
Oh.
And I'm going to tell you why I'm not a fan of this question. Usually people asking this question already know that there are heretics among these bishops. They already know usually that there are heretics among the entire synods. They know that most of World Orthodoxy's bishops are heretics. Eventually it goes from waiting for a miracle to testing God. Because God, as you know, gave us brains and he gave us, the ability to determine the truth. When people are saying, well, is there any way for there to be a reunion with 99.9% heretics and Orthodox? It sounds like testing God to me. Like, if you know that most of these bishops are in heresy, but you still look for a way mentally to reconcile that with the bishops you've discovered that aren't, then at some point, the person doing that has to ask themselves, am I just making excuses? And it may be for deeper reasons. The most common, I like my priest. All of my friends are World Orthodox. My family is. Eventually you have to get to that deeper reason, because clearly, if you understand that the majority of the bishops are heretics, that the entire system is set up to raise heretics to the episcopate, and that there's, outside of, as you put it, a lightning bolt striking all of these people down, no way for that to change, then at that point, hoping for a reunion doesn't make sense. It's like, people wishing for a reunion between the Orthodox and the Unionites. Well, if we could just strike down their bishops with a lightning bolt, maybe they'd come back. Are you starting to see what I'm trying to say here? That it's kind of like it's wishing to a point of the unreasonable. It's getting to the point where you're saying, not thy will, but mine be done, which is the opposite of the Lord's Prayer. The opposite of what Christ prayed in the garden. Eventually, you're not saying thy will be done. You're hoping your will be done. And that's not good. I'm not accusing you, but I'm saying that is what often undergirds that question.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I could see that. I could see that it could be a lot, oh, well, I want to see this happen. So, I'm going to hope for this to happen until my death.
And unfortunately, one thing that I do appreciate about when I've talked to Bishop Enoch about his conversion, he noticed the heresy of ecumenism very early on, and he almost joined the Ephraimites. And there was complexity about, the politics of how they were going to do the baptism and stuff. But in the midst of it, he met a very old reader. It was like 80 or 90 years old or something. And basically he said, well, what do you think about these issues about ecumenism? And the old man basically looked at him and said, there's nothing you can do. And it was at that moment that Bishop Enoch realized the future Bishop Enoch, realized that there really was nothing that was going to happen. And eventually, I think people have to come to that realization. They have to stop lying to themselves. And I mean, people like Father Peter Heers, unfortunately, teach these people to lie to themselves. There is not going to be a change like that because this is what those people want. In the same way that God doesn't strike down everyone in Sunni Islam, God doesn't strike down people who don't obey him. He gives them free will. But what you can't do is hope that he overrides that free will. What you have to do is you have to use your free will to join with true Orthodox people and bishops.
Yeah, no, I could definitely. Yeah, it's a process, especially like me coming in brand new, like after 5 years of Orthodoxy and kind of like, having to deal with, going and then seeing like.
Let me ask you, you just said after 5 years of Orthodoxy, and now you're aware of heresy in the episcopate. So would you like 5 years of Orthodoxy and next year starting with heresy, or would you like 6 years of Orthodoxy?
I would prefer to start without heresy, without anything crazy, without
No, you didn't
like
come to you didn't come to Orthodoxy to join heresy, did you?
no.
Okay, so don't beat yourself up that you picked the wrong bishop. You got lied to, but now you know. So go find the real bishop. Go to Clearwater. Make the trip. Go to
Gotcha.
Lakeland. Like
No, I definitely have been wanting to go to Lakeland and I'm sorry, not to Lakeland, to
there's
Clearwater,
also,
and
and on the other side, there's also Palm Coast. There are quite a few churches in Florida, but most of them are in the north end and in the middle. Let me just see something here. Just want to just double check, just because why not? Crazy and fun. Let me see something. Yeah, there's also one in Lutz, which is in Tampa. That's Rokena. So there's definitely not just one or two. There's a few different churches. But in order to experience that world, you're going to have to actually cross through the mirror. You're going to have to go through the looking glass. I often point out to people that really a world Orthodox coming into true Orthodoxy, it's like going through the looking glass. It's an entire parallel world where we really have nothing to do with world Orthodoxy, but we still have all the Orthodox things to worry about in Greece, Russia, Bulgaria, Romania, Georgia, you name it. Like we have our own lives, and we have our own systems, and we have our own episcopacies. The only difference is we don't have heresies, but we still have corruption. We still have all the other stuff, but at least we don't have heresy. But if you want to be part of that world, and that's the world that you thought you were joining, well, you know what you got to do.
yeah. I just I don't know why. Like I something. It's like a little scary. Then I'm going to be honest. It is scary.
Well, that's why I suggest instead of driving over, why not try making some phone calls?
To the priest, to the parish.
Yeah, just call, leave a message, wait for a call back.
Okay. I mean, I could do that. I think that's a good idea. Let me ask you: do you guys have monasteries by any chance, like around here? No.
I haven't lived in Florida in over 20 years. I don't have any idea how Florida is. Like, I'm taking the Florida trip in a couple of weeks. It will be my first time in Florida since 2002. I just have no idea. Like, it's over a generation I've been there. So, my suggestion is you're on the ground there, start making phone calls, get to know people. Ask questions, look around. Look for true Orthodox parishes and continuing RoCore parishes in Florida. They're there, and they'll give you a better picture of what's really around you. For all I know, there's a reader mission that gets a priest coming every month 2 blocks away from you, but I don't know.
Yeah. Gotcha. All right, perfect. Thank you again for your time, Father, and thank you. I'm gonna go ahead and start making some phone calls.
Glory to God. May God bless you in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Thank you.
Okay, bye now. Okay, anyone can call in on the live Q&A show. We are in the 20th minute of the second hour, so we will be keeping this going, and I'm going to get back to reading comments. Once again, if you want your comment up on the screen, make a super chat or become a member. Let's continue on, and let's see here. There's like a whole bunch of... We're moving. All right. WXVE, is there a stigma around Hakna? Yeah, someone answered no. Seraphim, it's revolving the sexual abuse scandal at HTM. No, it's not. The sexual abuse scandal was with Father Panteleimon, who's been reposed for going on 10 years. Yeah, it's mostly about Yugoslavia, but outside of that, and the awake sleeper controversy about post-mortem salvation. So yeah, it's the name worshiping thing is more accurate, Patrick. There, Father, can you look for the Body of Christ video in the mixing denomination? No, you can send them to me, and I will look at them. I am not chasing down stuff by Redeemed Zoomer. You can send it to us. We'll do that, but yeah, I'm not doing that. Is Hawkins still associated with the homo stuff? Don't know. Haven't spoken to them in years, but I haven't heard anything in years, so I'll leave it at that. Yeah. OTP father Josiah about the definitive work. Okay, that's going private. Thank you very much considering GOT very intensely and have open talks with the clergy at my parish on the matter. Okay, may God bless that. I have no idea how that's going to work out for you. Let's see here. What's your email? I think you could probably just write them from the messaging on the website orthodoxtraditionalist.com. They in Eastern Orthodoxy, you mean World Orthodoxy or the Ecumenists and Surgeonists or the Synagogue of Satan? Yeah, calling them Eastern Orthodoxy is an offense to the saints and fathers of Eastern Orthodoxy. Kenyan Orthodoxy are paper icons good? Paper icons are on my they're on my icon corner. Most of my icon corner is actually paper icons. I don't have the fancy frames a lot of the time. I mean, I do in some place, but not my icon corner because they're not mine. They're my family's. Yeah, paper icons are just as real. So, see, they don't even hide it. They've decreed that they condemned it as fake or unreliable. Okay, yeah. Are you even going to watch or redeem? No, I need a link. I am not just going to go searching for a link. Speaking of which, I do want to get to the link I was sent. And so let's there. Okay, you did it again. Put user in timeout because you're being. If you know what, that's it. I'm banning and deleting. What is the GOC position on chrismation versus baptism versus on reception of converts? You would have to ask them. I am not with the GOCK. It's very important, Father Joseph sees this. I give up. I have no idea what you're talking about. It. What was this troll 3 Peepkin? He's banned. So I just saw that Craig posted that you are set with another conversation with Father John in December. Will this time be more of a debate from Black Ortho Acolyte? That's news to me. I thought it was in January. Yeah, those dates were January dates. So I'll take a look. I'm not sure where he posted that, but I'm not aware that it's going to be any different in terms of format. It might be. It may be in terms of tone. I'm not sure. Okay, let me see here. Yeah, well, I mean, let's see. All right. Yeah, just stop saying stuff. Yeah, I'm gonna, Patrick and Lazaroon. All right, so that was 20 minutes ago. As I keep going through this, keep this up, and I will ban you from the chat. That's our church in Clearwater. We live in a society. Shut up, Peepkin. Okay, I took care of Peepkin's gone, so I don't know who wants to go next, but let's continue. Fellows, Fed posting. Stop trolling. I agree. Permission of Theotokos is GOC in Clearwater. Yes, it is. There's a parish in Bunnell. Yep, that is correct. Guys, pray for me to have majestic. Just have faith in God. A beard size doesn't matter. Look at the icon of the Chinese New Martyrs. Beards are good, but it's not a primary thing. Okay, are you a Signal Mailer? Okay, Patrick. Really, you're on that last nerve, and I'm reading 20-minute old chats, so this may not be a good idea. I'm going to ignore the beard comments. Lingual Inquirer. I'm going to head out now. Good night, everyone. God bless. We're not women to do. Yeah, I agree. Okay, this is Lazarin. It's again. It's this stuff like that. I've been brainwashed by the gays. Like, guys, stop. Like, it's my only warning. Stop sharing personal information, please. I agree. Because you're making it that way, Lazaroon, and I will ban. It's like I'm moving through this. All right. I'm gonna see if this is still going on at the end. Because if it is, I'm banning now. Let's see. Not yet, but you will be. So I've gone back. Okay, let me see here. Previous bishop was a child molester, and he still. Father Panteleimon was not a bishop of Hakhna. Mm-hmm. Praying you find unseen warfare, says DH. Praying you find a true Orthodox parents. A lot for respect for you for asking the right questions. Absolutely. Guys, what if I broke it? Guys. Okay, I don't understand foreign language posts. From Rose Book of Orthodoxy in and of itself feels like a layer too deep. Jumping that hurdle and discovering true Orthodoxy is unnerving. You're right, Black Orthodox. I have nothing else to say to that except that, unfortunately, this was a lot easier for people in the 1960s before they consolidated the marketing. And I hate to say that, before SCOBA, it was very difficult for them to claim that they were more canonical than, the true Orthodox in any way. But afterwards, they just, they created their own little cartel. This is something I've seen many times in business, and unfortunately, it's not really much more than business. Innovating hierarchies got together and decided to declare themselves official. Old Calendar Zealot, is there a PDF of the rudder? I really want to look at the canons. Head over to the EuphrosynosCafe.com. It is our top link in the documents section. WXVE, does anyone have any good online resources for St. John of Shanghai and his relationship with true Orthodox churches? I believe probably the new book from the less new book from Orthodox Traditionalist Publications about the ROCOR and the GOC does have some information on that. Let's see here. For the rudder PDF, then cancel. You don't even have to do that anymore, Patrick. You can just go to the cafe, and it's right there free. Someone ends up finding true Orthodoxy is a true truth seeker. Okay, let's not pat ourselves on the back. They are making it easier by making themselves more heretical. Okay, yeah, you are spamming the chat again. Okay, well, if you're daring me, yeah, I can do that. I'll just put you in timeout. That's cool. Let's see, the guy was trolling. Okay. Let me see here. Yep, okay. So that was taken care of. And so let's continue on. Lamont, how do you receive someone from World Orthodoxy? You're asking me personally? I ask them how they were received to determine whether they received at least the Orthodox form of baptism, if they have. If not, I ask a lot more questions. But if they have, then I would chrismate them. Because chrismation is a repeatable mystery. If they have not received any acceptable form of Orthodox or immersion, because Orthodox baptism is immersion. There are exceptions. There's a lot of exceptions. It would have to be a very specific case where I wouldn't just say you should probably get baptized. And Orthodox Traditionalist Publications says every synod is different. That is correct. Father, there are some troubling things I've read in the Rudder PDF. Could I ask a question about that? You absolutely can, Patrick. But keep in mind, I'm probably going to side with the Rudder more than I'm going to side with your concerns. But yeah, please feel free. Let me see here. Yeah. Black Orthodox, my bad. Not December or January. Yeah, it's January. So yeah, I haven't announced it yet. Simply because we've kind of put it off a few different times, so I have no idea whether it's going to happen. But let me see here. I'm seeing the spinning thing, so I'm going to go back and refresh the chat here. So, Patrick, if you want to ask those questions, you can. If you want to jump on stream and ask, you can as well. Once again, we are now in the 39th minute of the second hour of the live Q&A, where you get your questions answered live, as well as member requested video reviews. We're going to get to a video review in just a moment. What? Yeah. Yeah, please go find. First off, I'm not going to address that because I've never read anything of that sort of thing. It sounds perverse. I don't believe he read it correctly. If something like that was real, and since I do have a copy of the letter handy, I'm going to just quickly check to see if something like that was real because I have it handy. So give me just a moment while I do that. Okay. Let's open the letter. And let me see here. Most of this seems to be on page 1394. Yeah, there's no such reference. I've just gone through 17 of them. So yeah. You're gonna have no offense, Patrick, but you have said some things that kind of were kind of trollish by nature. But I literally just went through the PDF right now because you can search it. It's searchable using Control F. So I don't buy it. You're gonna have to find it, and I don't believe you will. Let me see here. Let me see here. And while you're at it, make sure your sundial is still in your trunk. Very good. Very good. And so let's see here. Okay. And once again, we are in that 42-minute mark. Assuming that we're not going to get any other questions, let me see if I can pull up that video for the video review so I can clip that. And then I will pull that up. Let me see here. It's going to be from Gregory DeCoplete, 3 Ways the Saints Fought Heresy. And we're going to do it at double speed effectively. So let's do that. Okay. Okay. Okay, so let's share this tab. We're going to put this at double speed because it is text. It is not voice, so it's got some sound to it. And so it's going to be pretty quick. I'm going to do it in 4 minutes. 3 Ways the Saints Fought Heresy by Gregory DeCoplete. He says there's 3 ways the Saints fought heresy: by breaking communion, the example of Maximus the Confessor. He's absolutely right. By ceasing commemoration of a heresy-preaching bishop, the example of St. Hypatius or Rufinus. He's absolutely right. Number 3, by maintaining communion and fighting the heresy, the advice of St. John Chrysostom. He's absolutely wrong. I will say, get this book, The History of Resistance, and you can look up the issue that occurred with St. John Chrysostom. St. John Chrysostom, you could look at the quote, Hokulani. I'm glad that you just asked. And the quote, if we're going to do that, let's just quickly go over. Let me see here. Okay, this is St. Hypatius, so we're going to get to the quote. All right, so we're going to do that. And I guess I don't know what sound this thing makes. Okay, distracting chant. It's distracting from the reading. By maintaining communion and fighting the heresy, the advice of St. John Chrysostom. St. John Chrysostom writes in his sermon of praise for our father among the saints, Eustathius, Archbishop of Antioch the Great. It's for these reasons God allowed blessed Eustathius to be exported off into exile so that he might show us in a major way both the power of truth and the heretic's feebleness. So then, when he was about to depart for the journey abroad, he let go of the city, but did not let go of his love for you, nor when he was expelled from the church did he think it was alienated either from the leadership or from caring for you. Rather, it was then that he expressed care and concern in a major way. Indeed, he summoned everyone and treated them not to yield, not to give in to wolves, nor to betray the flocks of them, but to remain inside, curbing them and disputing while securing the less corrupted of the brothers and sisters. And that he had good orders, that outcome proved. For if you hadn't remained in the church then, while the majority of the city would have been corrupted, while the wolves ate the sheep in a deserted place, but his word prevented them from displaying their own wickedness with impunity. It's not just the outcome that proved it, but also St. Paul's comments, for he gave this advice based on instruction. What then did Paul say? Once when he was about to be let off from Rome on his final journey, after which he would not see the disciples again, he said, I will not see you again. He said this not out of a desire to cause grief, but to provide security. So when he was about to journey away from there, he more or less secured them in this way, saying, I know that after I leave, savage wolves will enter among you, and men from right among you will rise up and say distorted things. The war was threefold. The nature of the wild animals, the severity of the war, those that did the warring were not foreign, but its own people. For this reason, it was more severe. And with reason, for if someone were outside to assault me in war against me, I would be able to subvert that person easily. But if the ulcer arises from the body internally, the evil is difficult to cure. This is in fact what happened then, which is why you give advice saying, pay attention to yourself and the whole flock. He did not say abandon the sheep and flee outside. This is a misuse of the quote from St. Paul. I can start by saying that because of the fact that St. Paul was leaving the church there for his exile. St. Eustathius was leaving the church for his exile. But in these cases, what he is saying is when there is a kind of a conflict between the people, that the people need to show bravery in that conflict. He's not saying when they've taken control of the levers of the church, you're supposed to still stand there. And so that is something to keep in mind. However, St. John Chrysostom himself, after his trial at the Synod of the Oak, in fact, did not simply take up, was not simply there. Father Boniface, welcome. Good evening.
Benedicite.
Benedicite. And so, so St. John, in that situation, did not simply meekly submit as the Roman Catholics and sometimes World Orthodox like to present his history. He started a parallel hierarchy, which took 50 to 60 years to resolve. And so, in that sense, let me see here. Let me see here. Yeah, I knew you were going to say, okay, let's go back. So glad I could answer that question. I did not share the tab. So when I do this clip, I'm going to have to share the tab while I'm reading it. So that's what we'll do next. I hope that answers your question, Hokalani. Unfortunately, that last presentation that Gregory gives is inaccurate. Can you guys made the Tio Athos said it? Yes, okay. Yeah. And Orthodox Traditionalist Publications says, read the scriptural commentaries of St. John Chrysostom in my book in chapter 1. That's this book, The History of Resistance, available on Amazon. Do buy the book. I highly recommend. Let me see here. Patrick says it's in the Rudder PDF after the section of the 12 Canons of Gregory of Neo-Caesarea, 9th point on the footnotes to Gregory, page 1394 on my PDF. I will now reopen this because I was on page 1394 and did not see anything of the sort, but I will take you at your word and we'll put it up to see what it says. And let's do that. So let's go back there and let's see if it's as horrifying and monstrous as you say that we should never read the Rudder, because the whole point is obviously the church has blessed this book to be read by lay people. So playing scare tactics that we've heard from World Orthodox priests is a bit disturbing, but let us see here. I'm reading real quick. Okay. Basically, this is dealing with rape issues. However, it certainly was not described in the weird way that you've described it. It does have prohibitions on things in terms of the question of rape, questions about Relates it to questions about communion and worthiness to the priesthood on the part of the husband, but it's certainly not something that extends throughout all time and space. So, yeah. HC asks, can we ask questions to Father Joseph Swaden here? Yes, you can. That's the whole point of this show. Yeah, okay. Wrong pages. 10 to 11, 10 to 14, actually. Okay. You see here. You can join the stream if you want as well. Father Boniface, you're welcome. How are you doing today, Father?
All right.
Glory
Hanging
to God.
in there.
Glory to God.
Praise the Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and let me see here. Okay, one more thing. Once again, Lazarn, this is the third time I'm telling you, unless you send me a link to the video, whether on the cafe or through some other manner, I am not going to go searching for it on YouTube. Period. You send it on Discord, fine. Send it to somebody who can send it to me. If you don't send it to me, that's fine. But this is the last time I am going to bring it up. Okay, Lazarun, you're joining me. Hello, Lazarun. What's your question?
I want to. There's a chat here. I want to give you those redeemed Zoomer videos because they're borderline heretical.
Well, he's a Protestant. Of course, they're heretical. I mean, what's your question, though, concerning them?
I want to know your thought of them. Have you seen them?
I don't really watch many redeemed Zoomer videos, but if there's a question that you've got related to orthodoxy with them, I understand. If you just want me to critique a Protestant video that has, say, nothing to do with orthodoxy, I'm not going to do that.
There is orthodoxy in there.
Okay. Well, we're getting. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but considering how much you've brought this up in the chat and how much this has not been handled, my suggestion is this: put the link in the cafe.
I'm banned.
You're not banned in like 3 hours. Okay.
No, I'm still banned.
Lazarus. Yeah, it was a 7-day ban. You have, and on top of that, you have got the audio like this. Okay.
What's going on?
Here's what's going on. I am going to ban you. You're going to be back on the cafe in about 3 hours, and I am going to put you in timeout for the rest of the session.
Okay, makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay. So anyway, as I was saying, sorry about that, Father Boniface, but I have been dealing with. I'm still hearing the audio. I think you might have an extra window open. Yeah.
Yeah, I fixed it.
He's been. I heard that. Yeah, he's been asking about these Redeem Zoomer videos the entire chat. Frankly, I've asked him not to do that. I told him how to put it in. He wants to argue on this. He's been on a 7-day ban on the cafe. Unfortunately, that's, he can put it up on the cafe tomorrow, and he's going to have to wait. That's all. Okay, they put these in private chat. No, I'm not going to. I'm going to have to look at these later. I don't even know what they are. It's just, I would be more inclined to be helpful if he hadn't kind of, despite saying he wouldn't, acted like he was hijacking the stream the entire time, which is one way to get on my bad side. Let me think here. Okay, let's see. Do you think Gregory Colorado does more harm than good overall, or do you think he guides to other synods? No, I think he does more harm than good. I think he tries to keep people from going to true orthodoxy, but usually I'm not going to say why, but oftentimes people find us or find other true orthodox in spite of him, not because he's actually brought anyone to true orthodoxy. He just causes people to look for an alternative to him. Okay, so let me see here. Have a good night. Good night, Vladika. I didn't know there was a bishop here at all. Good night, OTP. Yeah. All right. So Okay. So yeah, we're in the 54th minute. I think, did you have any thoughts, Father? Or, because this has been a little bit of a wild stream, and we had this issue last week, and I'm hoping we don't have this issue again next week, but I have a feeling it's going to resolve one way or another. But if anyone has any more questions in the chat, this is pretty much your last opportunity to ask. I don't even remember what this person. Yeah. Okay. AC says, what advice would Father Joseph Sweden have for someone in America who comes from a Protestant or Catholic background looking into Orthodoxy, specifically True Orthodoxy? Find your nearest True Orthodox parish and call the priest. Arrange a time to talk. Arrange a time to see the church. Arrange a time to start going there to pray. That would be my suggestion. It's as simple as that. There are True Orthodox all over the United States. Maybe we're not as spread out as we could be, but we're working on it. But just keep, that's what I would suggest. I would suggest taking it less off the internet and moving it real into talking to clergy and reaching out. What are your thoughts, Father?
I agree with that completely. I'm willing to accept phone calls and to field questions. I enjoy it, and I enjoy ministering in the vineyard of the Lord, and so I think it's very wise for people to call and then take it from there, because there's all kinds of things that they can do with, and who knows what the Lord would do as far as in their lives, and then the effect that they can have on others in their vicinity, and what the Lord would do with that. So I would definitely give phone calls and get in touch just to get communication going. I think it's vital. I think it's very important. I think that's a good idea.
Let me see here. Kenyan Orthodoxy asks, what's that greeting Father Boniface used? Benedicite. It's Benedicite, which is a greeting in Latin. The Greek is Evlogite. The Russian is Blagoslovite. That's just Benedicite is in Latin.
It means blessing, isn't it? Bless
Yep.
you.
Right. Bless
Benedicite,
you.
like a vocative. Bless you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Juan says, Father, do you know of any place where one can find audio-visual resources on the actual Orthodox Western Rite? Been a hard question, but we're going to try to see if we can get into that further this year.
Well, that would be Bishop James over in Scotland.
He's got some, but not much. And but
Okay.
that is Diverse Other Monks. If you want to go to that YouTube channel, it's Bishop James.
Right.
There's a variant of the Western Rite used by Bishop Lazar, and that's on his channel, which is Elevation Monastery, I want to say.
Right, Elevation Monastery. Yeah.
Bishop Enoch is hoping to have broadcasts from the Abbey by the end of the year on the True Western Orthodoxy channel. And I don't know if Father Boniface, if you're doing things on that, because I know you're doing a lot of other stuff, but I know you've mentioned it. But yeah, so
I would like to be doing stuff, but right now I'm getting the Hermitage in order. It's getting there, but it's a lot of work, and I'm the one that has to do it all. So, such it is. But that's definitely a goal.
Well, I will say this: you can probably expect a lot more in 2025, and the good news is 2025 is just weeks away. But we're going to be working on things like that. Yeah. SMC Academy says, I want to become Orthodox Church, so how can I do it? There's not any Orthodox Church in India, by reason. The best that I would suggest is contacting True Orthodox in Asia. There are True Orthodox in Indonesia. There are True Orthodox in the Philippines. Those are the first that pop up in my head. Unfortunately, they're going to be much closer than anything any of us can do. WXVE says, what is your synod, and do you know what synods Roca in exile is in communion with, if any? If you are referring to Archbishop Vladimir's Roca in exile, to my knowledge, he's not in communion with anyone else, but the best person to ask would be Archbishop Vladimir, and his phone number's on his website. Lamont says, in your is your view the world Orthodox does not have the Spirit? I'm not sure I like that question because um, all human beings live by the grace of the Holy Spirit. We exist because He gives us life. I know what you're saying in terms of the negative view of world Orthodoxy, but when you say things in a phrasing like "does not have the Spirit," it makes me very nervous as to what you mean. It's um, too nebulous and potentially emotional. And I'm not sure I like answering the question with a simple no, because the sense I have is that it's a much more loaded question than people would normally give. So I'm not sure I'm a big fan of that. I don't know what your thought is on this, Father.
I'll I'll take your comment.
Yeah, okay.
I'll leave it there. I'll leave it there.
Sounds good. Start from St. Ignatius being Shonanov if you ask me what to read, or St. Philaret of New York. Okay. Black Earth Rankalite asks, is Father Boniface still planning on doing an online catechesis?
Working on it. Like I said, I've got to get my the Hermitage. I'm basically right now finishing up the root screen, and that's going to take me a couple days. I've had to do a lot of painting and purchasing, and getting the thing ready to move into. I didn't have curtains, and so I can't move into a house without curtains. I'll be like a fishbowl. But
Yep.
so anyway, it's definitely a goal, and I think that something like that should be done to bless the people. So I just got to set up a studio. I got to kind of do that, and like you said, 2025, I think, is going to be a good year for us. I think there's going to be a lot of development.
I think it's going to be it's going to be a good year, I think, for True Orthodoxy as a whole. I think we're doing a lot of things in our synod as well. So it's going to be good. Let's see. One says, thanks, Father. Basilia says, world Orthodoxy has a spirit but of the Satan. Not going to go that far. John MC says, bless ye, to verse in plural imperative. Benedicite Latin, correct. HC says, do the True Orthodox hold the position that there is no salvation in world Orthodoxy? And if so, how do they explain this mass apostasy from True Orthodoxy? Thank you for your time and answers. Well, one thing to keep in mind is that before making assumptions of what this mass apostasy is, you do have to have some understanding of our numbers. You do have to understand that there are millions of True Orthodox all over the world, tens of millions, in fact, all over the Orthodox world. So the idea that, if you're thinking that it's, two priests on YouTube and that's it, like the Diamond Brothers, that's not reality. The reality is that we have hundreds of churches, over 100 churches in this country alone, of varying sizes. Some are small house missions, but some are large cathedrals. And we have our own existence outside of world Orthodoxy. They don't explain that mass apostasy because they misrepresent themselves as the church, even though they're engaging in heresy. So I hope that helps. The main issue that you're going to have to really deal with is the fact that ultimately the things that we refer to as heresy, they refer to as great blessings. The union of true and false religions, we would refer to that as heresies, and they would refer to that as an act of love. Surgeonism, or selling out the church to the atheistic communists, they refer to as an act of survival, where we refer to it as an act of apostasy. Modernism, I think, speaks for itself, but the whole point is that you're going to have to get past the double speak that you get when you're dealing with world Orthodoxy, when they say we're the one true faith and holding to the one true faith of all ages, and then they're betraying it. It's not our task to kind of explain how that betrayal, that kind of calling, red blue is happening. But if you realize the discordance, then it's time to start looking for true Orthodox parishes.
I would say also that look at the lives that they lead, but the problem is that distance can be a problem where you won't always see it. But if you see the actions, that some of them you do see in the news and stuff like that, then you have to take into account that their actions are not in agreement with their words. And so you have to take that seriously. This isn't just a rationalistic, intellectual game where we just bandy about concepts. We're talking orthodoxy is a wedding between thinking and praxis, between rationality and praxis, between believing and doing.
Yep.
So take that into account,
Okay, he says, yes, no salvation, world orthodoxy, mass apostasy is an old prophecy we live in. Okay. SMC Academy says, here in India, Malacca Orthodox Church is Oriental. Can I go with them? No, they're Monophysites. Contact the true Orthodox authority in Asia. Once again, I repeat my previous statement. Unseen Warfare says they just framed that we're a small sect, and funny enough, that's how the Pharisees talked about the early church. 100% true. Vasily says, Father, every heresy has the spirit of Satan linked always with blasphemy. I don't disagree. In any case, I don't see any more questions. We did cover the video, so I will do a clip, but I'm going to have to superimpose the stuff from that Gregory DeComplete video. But it was answered. So in that case, I'm just going to quickly pop on and say thank you to everyone. To our guests, to our listeners, to Father Boniface who came on, to other people who had come on as well, to those who had questions and had comments, and those who support our mission. Support the channel. We at NFT need your help. Support us by subscribing or donating at NFT.net, on Give Send Go or on Odyssey. And we remember all of you in our prayers, and thank you for all the support for NFTU. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe. And through the prayers of Holy Fathers, through Jesus Christ our God, have mercy on us and save us. Amen.